Welcome to Real English Voices. I'm Tom.
And I'm Ria. And we're absolutely thrilled to have you join us today for a really deep dive into something that is probably a massive part of your life right now, learning English.
It really is, Ria. We talk to so many people every day all around the world, and the journey of learning English is universal, but also incredibly personal. It's full of ups and downs, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a roller coaster. You have those days where you feel like a genius, you understand every single thing, and then the very next day, you're listening to a native speaker and you feel like you've forgotten everything you've ever learned. That feeling of, wait, what just happened?
Exactly. That's the feeling we want to unpack today. We want to dive into the real, raw experience of learning English from the biggest reasons why it's so important today to those tiny, tricky struggles that can make you want to just give up sometimes.
And we want to give you actionable, practical tips. Not just textbook stuff, but the things that actually work in real life. The kind of advice we wish someone had given us when we were struggling with languages. Or frankly, the things we see working for our most successful students.
So let's start at the beginning, Ria. Why English? There are thousands of languages in the world, beautiful, rich languages. Why is English still such a monumental, essential skill for so many people in 2025 and beyond?
That's a powerful question, Tom. And I think the answer is twofold. There's the practical, professional side, and then there's the incredible, personal, and human side.
Tell me about the practical side first, the kind of things people can't ignore.
Well, professionally, it's just the lingua franca of the world now. If you look at tech, science, academia, international business, even aviation, the working language, the language of exchange, is predominantly English. If you're a programmer, the best documentation is in English. If you're a researcher, the cutting-edge papers are often published in English.
So it's not just about getting a job, it's about accessing the best information and the highest levels of your own professional field.
Precisely. It's an access point. It's like having the master key to the global library of knowledge and opportunity. You might be a brilliant engineer in your own country, but if you want to collaborate internationally or even just read the latest industry reports, English is the bridge. And let's not forget the sheer size of the global job market it opens up. Suddenly, your competition and your opportunities aren't just local anymore. They're global.
That's huge. But you mentioned a human side, too. What does that mean to you?
Oh, that's where the real magic is, Tom. The human side is about connection. It's about travel. Imagine you're backpacking or you're in a little cafe in a foreign country and you meet someone from a completely different culture. Maybe they speak Japanese and you speak Spanish, but the language you both share, the one that allows you to exchange stories and laughter, is English. It breaks down barriers instantly.
I've had those moments where a spontaneous conversation in a hostel in, say, Thailand leads to a lifelong friendship, and the whole thing was possible because of a shared common language that isn't native to either of us. It's an incredible feeling of universality.
It's profound. And also entertainment and culture. Think about the sheer volume of movies, TV shows, music, books, and podcasts like this one that are produced in English. Learning the language means you can enjoy them in their original, raw form. No more relying on potentially clumsy subtitles or dubbing. You get the nuance, the joke, the emotion, as intended.
It's that direct, unmediated access to a culture. That's a beautiful point. So, we've established why it's so important, but let's be real, Ria, it's hard. And I want us to spend some time talking about the common struggles. What's the number one thing you hear from learners when they talk about what's holding them back?
The number one thing, hands down, is speaking confidence. It's not about grammar. Many of our students have fantastic grammar knowledge. They can score high on written tests. But when they have to open their mouth and speak, especially in front of a native speaker or a group, their mind just goes blank. They freeze up.
The dreaded brain fog or the English paralysis. I know exactly what you mean. It's the fear of making a mistake, isn't it? The fear of being judged.
It is. And we need to tell everyone listening right now, Mistakes are not failure. They are data. They are evidence that you are trying and learning. Think of a toddler learning to walk. They fall down hundreds of times. Do they stop? No, they just get back up because they know falling is part of the process of walking. Learning a language is exactly the same. You have to make mistakes to figure out where the boundaries are.
That's so true. I think we as adults get so self-conscious. We're used to being competent in our native language and our jobs, and suddenly we're reduced to struggling to find the right adjective. It's a humbling experience.
It is humbling, but you need to embrace the beginner's mindset. It's okay to sound hesitant. It's okay to have an accent. An accent is a sign of bravery. It means you know more than one language. It means you've put yourself out there.
Okay, so if speaking confidence is number one, what's the second biggest struggle? I'm guessing it has to do with the sheer speed of native speech.
Oh, absolutely. Listening comprehension is a huge hurdle, especially when people watch a movie or listen to native speakers talk in a natural, rapid conversation. They use contractions, they link words, they drop sounds. It doesn't sound like the slow, clear, perfectly articulated speech you hear in textbooks.
The textbook voice is a lie. It prepares you for a very sterile, unnatural environment. When you get into the real world, did you eat yet? Sounds like, did you eat yet? And you're completely lost.
Exactly. The rhythm and flow of English are completely different from how it's written. We need to train our ears, not just our eyes. And the solution here is really consistent, low-stakes exposure. Not just listening to a formal lecture, but listening to real conversations, like this podcast, or a YouTube interview, or a TV show.
So let's turn these struggles into solutions. We've covered speaking and listening. Let's hit them both with some practical tips. For the person who freezes up when they have to speak, what's one immediate thing they can do?
My favorite tip for speaking confidence is something called the shadowing technique. Find a short audio clip or video, maybe a minute long, of a native speaker talking in a way you like. Listen to it multiple times. Then literally shadow the speaker. Speak at the exact same time as them, trying to match their pace, their rhythm, their intonation, and their pronunciation. You're not trying to memorize the script, you're just trying to mimic the sound.
That's brilliant. It takes the pressure off creating your own thoughts and puts the focus purely on the mechanics of speaking. It's like a vocal warm-up for English.
Exactly. And because you're doing it simultaneously, your brain doesn't have time to worry about mistakes. It's purely focused on output. Do that for 10 minutes a day, and you will see a massive improvement in your flow and confidence.
Okay, and for listening comprehension, for the person who feels overwhelmed by the speed, what's another immediate thing someone can do?
Active listening in small chunks. Don't try to understand every word of a 30-minute podcast the first time. Take a short clip, maybe just 3 minutes, listen to it once for the main idea. What is the general topic? Then listen a second time, this time pausing to jot down 3 to 5 key words or phrases you hear. Then the third time, listen with the transcript, if you can find one, to fill in the gaps. By breaking it down, you stop panicking and you start training your ear to catch specific sounds and rhythm patterns.
That's much less intimidating than just being thrown into the deep end. It's a controlled, deliberate practice.
It has to be deliberate. Passive listening, like having a TV show on in the background while you cook, is nice for exposure, but it won't drastically improve your understanding. You need to engage actively.
Let's switch gears slightly. Vocabulary. This is another area where learners feel like they're constantly fighting an uphill battle. English has a massive lexicon and often several words for the same idea. How do you stop just accumulating lists of words you forget and actually start using them?
Oh, the dreaded vocabulary list, the one that sits in a notebook gathering dust. The problem is that traditional learning focuses on the word Not the context. We need to move away from learning single words in isolation and start learning in chunks.
Chunks? Tell us more about that.
A chunk is a group of words that naturally go together. We call them collocations. For example, don't just learn the word heavy. Learn chunks like heavy traffic, heavy rain, heavy sleeper, or heavy responsibility.
Because if you just learn heavy, you might be tempted to say strong rain, which a native speaker might understand, but it sounds unnatural.
Exactly. And when you learn the chunk, heavy rain, your brain automatically associates the two words and you start speaking more naturally and fluently without having to translate every single word in your head. It dramatically speeds up your retrieval time.
So instead of a flashcard for a single word, you should create a flashcard for a phrase or a short sentence that uses the word naturally.
Precisely. And a really fun tip for integrating new vocabulary is to choose 3 new words or phrases every week and actively try to use them at least once a day in a real conversation or even when you're just talking to yourself. We all talk to ourselves, don't we?
Oh, all the time. I'm constantly narrating my life in my head. That's a great way to practice without the pressure of a listener. It makes it a game, an internal challenge.
It turns learning into a creative challenge. You're actively looking for an opportunity to deploy your new linguistic weapon. And that effort of trying to use it is what transfers the word from your passive vocabulary, the words you recognize, into your active vocabulary, the words you actually use when speaking.
This brings us to a slightly lighter but equally important topic, the mistakes. We've all made them, and they are essential for learning, but sometimes they're also just hilarious. Do you have any favorite or most common funny mistakes you hear people make, Ria?
Oh, so many. And they often come from direct word for word translation from their native language. A classic one involves false cognates, words that look or sound similar in two languages but mean completely different things. A common one I hear from French or Spanish speakers is when they say, I am pregnant instead of I am embarrassed or I am full, because the word for embarrassed in Spanish, embarazada, actually means pregnant.
Oh, that's a conversation stopper. You can imagine the look on the listener's face.
Absolutely. And another funny one, particularly with Asian languages, is the mix-up between L and R sounds or mispronouncing certain vowel sounds. I once heard a student excitedly tell a friend, I am so shit to meet you, instead of I am so sweet to meet you.
Oh, dear. That changes the entire tone of the greeting. But you know, it's those moments that you laugh about later that actually cement the correct pronunciation in your mind. The emotional memory helps the linguistic memory.
Exactly. You never, ever forget that mistake. And the key here, for anyone listening who has made a similar blunder or is terrified of making one, is to lean into the mistake and laugh. When you make an error, if the other person corrects you, don't get defensive. Say, thank you, I needed that correction. A mistake is a sign that you just found a spot in your knowledge that needed patching up.
That's a perfect segue into mindset, because you need a really robust, resilient mindset to keep going on this journey. It's not a one-month project, it's a lifelong pursuit, isn't it?
It is a journey, not a destination. And the mindset is everything. You need patience and self-compassion. The biggest killer of motivation is the desire for instant fluency. We want to be great right now, but language acquisition just doesn't work that way. It's incremental.
We call it the S curve of learning. You start really fast, you learn the basics, and you feel amazing. Then you hit the long, flat part of the curve, where you're moving from B1 to B2, and you feel like you're not improving at all, even though you're studying every day.
That is the danger zone. And you have to remember that in that flat looking part of the curve, you're actually internalizing, you're consolidating, you're building the deep structure of the language, even if you don't feel the progress. The solution is to change your focus from fluency to consistency.
Consistency over intensity. I love that. So instead of trying to cram 10 hours of English on Saturday, it's better to do 30 minutes every single day.
Absolutely. 30 minutes of focused, active practice where you're really concentrating on one skill is infinitely better than 4 hours of passive, tired scrolling through flashcards. Make English a tiny, non negotiable part of your daily routine. Tie it to something you already do, like, while I'm brushing my teeth, I'll listen to a 2-minute English news clip. While I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, I'll review 3 flashcards.
That's the atomic habits approach applied to language learning. Small, consistent actions. And what about motivation? How do you keep the fire lit when things get tough?
You have to reconnect with your why. Everyone who starts learning English has a deep-seated personal reason. It might be to get a promotion, to travel the world, to talk to a foreign partner's family, or just to understand your favorite TV show without subtitles. When you feel demotivated, stop studying and ask yourself, why did I start this? What does English enable me to do?
It's about remembering the future version of yourself that you're building, the one who is confident, who is traveling, who is getting that job. English is the tool to build that person.
It is. And the other piece of motivation is making it fun. If you hate reading news articles, don't read news articles. If you love video games, change the settings to English. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows in English. If you love football, follow the English commentators. The most effective learning is the learning that doesn't feel like work. It feels like an extension of your existing interests.
That's crucial. We often think learning has to be painful or tedious to be effective, but the opposite is true. If it's enjoyable, you'll stick with it, and consistency is the real engine of progress.
So true. And speaking of enjoyment, let's talk about the final, most transformative piece of the puzzle: how English changes your life and opportunities. We've mentioned jobs and travel, but what are the deeper, more subtle ways you see it affecting people?
For me, the most subtle but profound change is the change in perspective. When you learn a new language, you don't just learn new words, you learn a new way of thinking about the world. Every language encodes a different culture, a different set of values, and a different way of relating ideas.
That's such a powerful observation. You become more empathetic, more flexible in your thinking. When you can read an article or listen to a podcast from a completely different culture in their own words, you gain a level of understanding and nuance that no translation can fully capture. It literally opens your mind.
It's almost like getting a second brain or a wider lens through which to view reality. And that makes you a more valuable employee, a better traveler, and honestly, a better human being. You're more able to bridge cultural gaps.
And on a very personal level, Tom, for so many people, learning English is a huge boost to their self-identity. It's a massive accomplishment. It proves to them that they are capable of doing something incredibly difficult. It's a testament to their dedication and intelligence. The moment a student realizes, wait, I just had a 10-minute conversation with a native speaker, and I didn't panic, and they understood me. That feeling of empowerment is priceless.
It's a complete game changer. It's the confidence boost that spills over into every other area of their life. Suddenly, other challenges don't seem so daunting because they've conquered this enormous beast of language learning.
Exactly. They realize that they can take on big, scary goals and achieve them one tiny, consistent step at a time. And that lesson is universal. It applies to fitness, career, relationships, everything.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, Ria, what's one final, single message you want to leave with everyone who is currently on this English learning journey? The one thing they need to hold on to when things get tough.
The one message is this: Your English doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be good enough to connect. You are not striving for an impossible, flawless perfection that only exists in textbooks. You are striving for meaningful connection. Focus on communicating your message, on sharing your ideas, your feelings, and your laughter. Embrace your accent, celebrate your mistakes, and remember that every single time you open your mouth and speak English, you are winning. You are making progress. You are brave.
Beautifully said, Ria. Embrace the imperfect, embrace the journey, and celebrate the small, consistent victories. English is your passport to a bigger world, and you are holding the key.
Keep practicing, keep listening, and keep connecting. We are so proud of you for being on this journey.
Thank you for joining us on Real English Voices. I'm Tom.
And I'm Ria.
We'll talk to you next time.